Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Chapter Tactics, where we go over tactics and strategies to help out both new and veteran players alike. I am your host, Magikarp Fly, and with me today we have our regular co-hosts with Demeki.
Hey, everybody, how y'all doing?
John P.
Yeah, I'm back.
And special guest coming in yet again, Mr. Scary.
Salutations and greetings, fellow hobbyists from around the world. También de habla hispana. Hola a todos.
Are you getting a lot of reps in for Drakari? You're just living in it right now, aren't you?
I know. Okay, I know that the Dark Eldar, like a reign of terror, is exactly what I ordered. Thank you, Games Workshop. You got my letter.
Hey, you know what? Now's the time to shine. You guys get to play in the sun for a while right now.
I can only say that I've been playing them for, like, I deserve this because I played them forever, for a certain amount of time before people just tell me to go climb under the rock that I crawled out of.
Now I'm just picturing Scary coming out of a rock with the new codex when it came out. Yes!
Then everybody, like,
Finally!
Get the pitchforks!
Like Gollum in Lord of the Rings.
Golem, just go back.
Get back into your hole!
Get back in there.
Everyone's got pitchforks just like poking him. He's like, no.
Wait,
It's my time to shine! Leave me be!
Precious. So today we're going to be talking about some units that were flavorful in the beginning of 9th and have kind of just like fallen off as the meta has shifted towards better stuff, lots of FAQs dropping, and just like the units just not becoming as flavorful as they were when they first came up and people were just spamming it as much as possible. But before that, we have the Las Vegas team tournament coming up this weekend.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Exciting.
Yeah.
I'm super excited. I'm stoked.
I will say if you are out there listening and you haven't tried a team event before, it is probably the most fun you'll ever have playing 40K, and it is probably the most balanced way to play 40K.
I 100% agree with that. That's like the next topic for next week, where we just talk about team tournaments, because I absolutely love the format of team tournaments.
Yeah, it's great. I absolutely love it. This is going to be my second one, so I'm super excited.
Scar, you going to it?
I sadly will not be going to this one. However, here in Canada, Team Canada just got off of a scrim, so we're doing friendly scrims with teams from other countries. And we played against Northern Ireland, and we had an 8-person versus 8-person team, basically a little round, and Team Canada ended up winning that one. But it's a fantastic. I love team events, so I can't go to this one. I can't wait to go to the next one.
Yep. Demeki, you're going to this one?
Yes, sir.
You're going with the Long War, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So me, Mike Haspel, Kenny Boucher, Wyatt Turk, and their buddy Zach, and myself.
Yep.
Boy.
What are you taking?
I'm taking Drakari with 9 Chronos.
What's everyone else taking?
So Kenny's bringing Death Guard. He's bringing Morty, PBC's Defilers,
Okay.
His signature move. Wyatt.
Signature move.
His finishing maneuver.
Wyatt is rocking the Chaos Space Marines with Lord of Skulls.
Okay.
Let me see. Mike is bringing.
That'll catch you off guard if you're not careful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Mike's bringing Grey Knights. I don't know what his build is. I haven't seen it. And Zach's bringing Sisters with, I think, 9 Penitent engines.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So pretty balanced.
Yeah, we got some crazy ass lists.
Yeah. No orcs though.
You folks went for some more skew like lists. Like you're going for more of the skew style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gonna surprise some people.
Yeah.
Completely catch them off guard.
Yeah.
That's what I was telling my opponent the other night when I was playing against him. I was like, a lot of people lately, because he apparently plays knights, and I was like, I mean, honestly, a lot of people lately haven't been preparing for knights. I was like, you probably could run knights right now. I'm just saying.
Yeah, AT weapons aren't as common as they used to be. So.
Yep.
Yep. All right. Cool. So LVTT coming in, and yeah, Scary, I think that you have a did you know for us today. Would you like to
I
lay
do
that
have
down?
a "Did you know" segment. Just pretend there's a little rainbow that's going across your screen right now. Did you know that one of the assassin temples of the Officio Assassinorum is called the Vanus Temple? And it acts as an intelligence gathering arm that primarily trains operatives as info sites that use engines and prognostic simulations to determine the probability of success in completing missions.
Oh, so they're just like math hammering the entire time.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's hilarious. Is math hammer inside of math
Are
hammer?
they even assassins there?
Yeah, they're part of the Officio Assassinorum. They are operatives that are also used to hack through network communications, data management systems. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can find on the Warhammer wiki on them
This is
as
like-
well. But it's the Vanus Temple.
A bunch of hackers.
Hacker man.
Yeah, it's just hacker man everywhere.
They try to get into the Tau drones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So that's our
Riptides beware.
all of Tau beware.
1 point extra and get hacked.
Yeah. All right. So that's our Did You Know for today, where we just talk a little bit about the lore before going into the main topic, which we're about to do right now. But before we do that, this show is brought to you by FrontlineGaming.org, where you can get some amazing game mats for not just your 40K games, but almost any tabletop game out there. Purchase miniatures at a discount and join some of the largest 40K events in the industry. They also have the largest 40K podcasting network in the business, with shows like Signals from the Frontline, Chapter Tactics, which you're listening to right now, 40K Game Changers, 40K Stats Center, Grim After Dark, and so much more. That's frontlinegaming.org. And if you guys haven't gotten your tickets yet for the SoCal Open, or you guys are joining the LVTT this weekend, good luck. Salutations to everybody. Hope you guys all do well, and let's get some more 40K let's get some more 40K stats back into the game, because I love data. So just reading all the data, like when new armies pop up, or when I'm looking through like 40K stats or anything like that, man, my itch for what stats are available, it hasn't been scratched in a while.
Same. I really want like another. I know Gutenhammer did an article on secondaries like way back when. I really want to see like another update on like how people are doing on secondaries.
I want to see more like first turn,
yeah.
second turn win rates on like top tables, on low tables, all that stuff. I'm looking forward to all
Everything,
that.
Numbers, missions,
Yeah.
terrain setups, everything. Give me the numbers.
Numbers.
Give me the numbers.
You hear that, Falcon? You got some work to do, buddy.
Yeah, we're all waiting, dude. It's like we're just waiting for it. But yeah, so let's get into this main topic here, because we got a lot of stuff that we need to talk about. Ninth has been out for a while now, and we've gone through some ups and downs for the meta, with units coming and going. So we're just going to talk about some of the units that were flavorful at the start of 9th edition up until now. And we all kind of like talked about this a little bit before this podcast, with some units that we feel like were flavorful and not. And I think like the biggest one, that's the biggest elephant in the room, is probably Eradicators. That was like, at the start of 9th, Eradicators were the bee's knees. Everybody loved Eradicators. And now you see them somewhat, but it's not as much as you used to before.
I think it's a combination of their rules change from codex to codex, because we got the Spaceman Codex and like the supplements and whatnot, like hit late 2018.
Yeah, the
or
first big-
2018, and then
Yeah.
they really came to prominence at the 2019 LVO, right, with that Leviathan Broviathan list, and Eradicators were like crazy, and then the new codex came out, and they lost their ability to like, do some stuff, and they're definitely not as prevalent. But I feel like we might see them soon, with all the jump up of like Nemesis Dread Knights and like Leviathan Dreadnought, not Leviathans, Telemon Dreadnoughts and stuff everywhere, and like people might gravitate to them again. I could see.
Yeah, because a lot of the meta right now, there's not a lot of anti-tank weapons as much as they're used to. You have like your Dark Lances and Cognis. But besides that, like people have dropped off of Eradicators, but now we're going to start seeing a lot of upticks in things like Squig Buggies, like what you said, Dread Knights, lots of stuff that people haven't been teching into. So it'll be interesting to see them come back into flavor if they do. And especially for like the Space Marine armies that like really use them effectively, like salamanders.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the problem with them too was that the fact like most people had to just strategic reserve them, right? Mm-hmm. So like you would see people spending 1 or 2 CP or whatever to strategic reserve them, come out, and then they not do anything, right? Mm-hmm. They fail to destroy the target that they were hoping to kill with them. And I think that was one of the problems that, like, especially I saw when I used them all the time. Like, they come out strategic reserves. I'm hoping that they're going to delete this one thing, and then they fail.
Yeah, and then they fail, yeah. And then also they got a points hike, I think, as well, right?
I think 5 points increase. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people have also just been finding another thing that we're going to list later, attack bikes. People were finding those more useful, and then people were also just finding Devastators and drop pods a lot more useful also, because you don't have to spend a CP. You could just use 70 points, get a drop pod, forward deploy, turn 1.
Yeah. And most people spend a lot of their CP early game anyways now. So, like, spending the extra points for strategic reserves is kind of like, it's kind of painful a little bit.
Yeah.
After that, we have the next big one in the room. We got Outriders. You guys remember Outriders?
Unless you're playing Deathwatch, and you're running like a kill team with like big Outrider squads, which is something I have seen. You're right. Yeah, Outriders, they 12 toughness, 5 wounds, tend to die very, very quickly, and they're not as durable as they might have seemed originally.
Yeah.
There isn't a way to like give them an invuln per se, unless you're specific armies. I think the biggest thing with Deathwatch, as you mentioned, is they're OPSEC in Deathwatch, which is
and they
pretty
can come
good.
in 5 strong, right?
Yeah.
Which they, and which makes them incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
They might have a place with Dark Angels, but I mean, even most Dark Angels players aren't running them.
Yeah.
Because they're mostly running Deathwing and not Ravenwing.
Yeah. Do White Scars run Outriders anymore?
Not really.
No?
I think if you're a White Scar player, really gravitating to, Vanguard veterans, right?
Oh,
they're durable. They have lots of attacks. They reroll wounds. They get souped up with the trait. Like why take a bike when you could take an infantry model?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Dude, speaking of Vanguard vets, what about their distant cousins in Blade Guard vets? Like Blade Guard vets.
Those were like everywhere early on, right? Like it was literally block of Blade Guard vets, apothecary, and then they would like walk up the table at you. And they sort of like they definitely fell out of favor and Vanguard vets became the thing to take.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the meta switched over from big blocky bricks where it was hard to kill to now being what is the most mobile, especially with changes to things like people taking up stuff like Stranglehold, things that you can score at the end of your turn, whereas movement is just way more valuable than, this unit can't die. Like, the Blade Guard vets can't die, but they only move like, 5 inches?
6.
Oh, 6 inches. Yeah. I think that the only times I see really Blade Guard vets are like with Black Templars. But
Devout Push is really good, or if you put them in, another unit that we don't see very often, the Impulsors. To segue into that choice, with the loss of Fly, like Impulsors, Repulsors, like anything like that, as soon as that Space Marine book kind of changed those units, they really kind of fell out of favor.
Yeah, they lost.
And also their vulnerable save went from a 4 up to a 5 up if you took their shield dome.
Yeah, exactly. It went from they lost Fly, Invuln got 1 worse from 4 to 5, and also the points increase was pretty massive. Also, I think they were less than 100 points in the 8th Codex, and now they're like with the shield dome they're about like 125. Ballpark. So it was pretty. Well, I mean, they're severely undercosted.
They were everywhere before. Like,
dude,
everywhere.
I remember having to fight John Pease with my Tau, and it was frustrating. Like,
but you were playing Tau, so it's like anything is frustrating. But
it didn't matter how many shots I sunk into it. I felt like I couldn't kill it.
It was so efficient. 90 points for a 4-up invuln. move, disembark, and then also the fly keyword.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
could fly. Not only that, it was a -2 to charge built in. Now they took that away and put it on the stratagem instead. So yeah, I think there was lists that ran like 5 impulsors, which
Yeah.
you know.
Scary, have you been seeing impulsors like at all?
Not really. I've been building them into like my lists because I go against the grain a little bit. But no, I have not. Maybe the odd one in a Black Templar list.
Yeah, Black Templars is like the
Or-
only ones that
yeah.
I've seen it in.
There's
like Space
or
Wolves.
I saw someone using one today for like Death Company intercessors.
oh,
Oh, okay.
interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know that what's it called? The guy that writes for Goonhammer, right?
Yeah, John K. He runs 3 impulsors with 3 squads of 4 Blade Guard vets. He plays very like map control, board control. So he just this meta is pretty good for him actually. Considering the way he plays, he plays very cagey. Or actually no, I don't know exactly how he plays, but he likes to just control the map.
Yeah.
Which this meta, yeah.
Yeah, board control. I feel like that we're hitting a lot of Space Marines. So switching off of Space Marines real quick, because, you know, Space Marines were the first codex that came out in 9th edition. So naturally, a lot of their units are going to be the first ones that get like the big FAQ hits and everything like that. Other stuff that we don't really see as much, the Demacarian for Tyranids. This one it ran rampant a little bit when it first came out, or when people started picking it up after the whole hobby leg thing. But nowadays, because of things like your Cognis and things like your what's it called, your
Dark Lance.
your Dark Lances and your what else is high damage in Drukhari? What are they
Heat
called?
Lance, Dark Lance,
Blaster.
Blast
Blaster.
Pistol.
Yeah.
As well as every other poison pistol that you
Yeah.
have access to.
Yeah. What is it? Heavy bolters. So much stuff just like kill it on turn 1, where it was very meta. And like they could definitely punch upwards with it, but then as more of that stuff started coming into the game, it's not as prevalent as it was before, you know. And then they also got a points increase as well.
Yeah,
on
I've
top of that.
I've seen a lot of people like there's a few people that's still running like 1,
Yeah,
but you don't
yeah.
really see like 3 of them anymore.
Yeah, you don't see 2 or
And-
3.
Yeah, another unit for Tyranids is the Malanthrope. Like the big sort of like zoanthropy creature from Forge World that gave everything like a -1 to hit, because it changed its aura from like 6 inches to like 3 inches. It increased like its points increased and whatnot, and that's another unit that was very
Uh-oh.
for Tyranids.
Oh, we lost Scary for a second.
Oh, am I back now?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to repeat what you
I don't
just
know
said?
where I got cut off, but I'm going to say Malanthrope.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Malanthropes definitely. With the way that the maps are built now, there's like so much stuff that you can get access to for -1 to hit, and then also it takes up an HQ slot. There's a lot of bad stuff that happens with Malanthropes, but this isn't a Tyranid podcast. I could go on about this forever about it.
Did I hit a chord?
Yeah. No.
I don't want to talk about it. Sorry.
Yeah.
You can't see it. There's
Go
a little
back
vein
to-
in his
I'm
head,
near
like
the
just
rock.
going off right now.
Yeah, it's about to bust, dude. It's about to burst. But yeah, Demacarians not as good as they once were. Switching over to something else that's not Space Marines, we got Grotesque. Now, Demeki and Scar, you guys can talk about this because I have no idea what Grotesque do.
Well,
Go ahead, Demeki.
I know one of the reasons why people aren't running them as much, especially since Dart Technomancers changed. Like what made them good was the fact that you can give them a liquefier gun, throw them in a raider, have them run around, and just Dart Technomance all over people's faces. That's one of the reasons why, with the change to the liquefier guns and Dart Technomancers, they're not run as often. I ran them a couple of times. Not with Dark Technomancer, but just with Prophets of Flesh. And it felt like a waste of points. Like they didn't feel that great to me. But I'm not as experienced of a Drukhari player as Scary is.
Scotty, tell us about the Grotesque.
Well, the tale begins inside of the homunculus lab, you see. So no, like, well, grotesques were very popular before the new Drukhari book came out. Like grotesque, like one of the main competitive lists was like 3 large units of grotesques that would just like run at you with a 4-up invulnerable save, and they were very tough to get rid of. And grotesque did see action in 9th, probably less than like just the 3 squads of double liquefire racks in Raiders, you know, like, and sometimes you'd see the 5 grotesque with liquefiers in a Raider as well, just kind of like maximizing on that dark tech goodness. But that's, yeah, they've kind of fallen off. I feel like Venoms in general fell off with the new codex as well. Like early 9th edition, Dark Eldar armies were like Venoms, like everywhere, and Raiders were like on the shelf. And then the new book flipped that, so now it's Raiders everywhere with Venoms on the shelf. Yeah.
John P, do you have anything to say? Do you know anything about Cortez?
No.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. This next one, you could talk about this one more. This is more recent. Skitarii blobs, right? Like, you know, before when AdMech first came out. This is like a couple weeks now. People are not taking blobs as much anymore. Do you want to discuss why that happened or what's going on with that?
Yeah, so I guess when the AdMech Codex came out, people were freaking out that you could run Skitarii and blobs to 20. So they leaned heavily into that. So you'd see like 60, 80 like 3 to 4 units of like 20-man blobs to Skitarii. But nowadays you probably see at most 1 or 2. A few things affected that. Now, I mean, nowadays everyone's just running like MSUs to just sneak on the objective and get points. But also the big hits were the stratagems being increased cost. So you don't really use those stratagems anymore. And yeah, I mean, it's also just kind of hard to fit all those models behind the train. So yeah. Small blobs.
Yeah. Wrath of Mars also got worse, right?
Yeah. Wrath of Mars got worse. I think.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. But yeah, I think nowadays, like I mentioned, you just run the small blobs, small MSUs. Just get out there. You only really see big blobs in AdMech of like the Cerberus Raiders or like the Rust Stalkers nowadays. But yeah.
Scar, do you have anything to say about Skitarii blobs?
I think it's not just Skitarii blobs. It's like Lucius Skitarii blobs specifically.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was
right, because Lucius was like the way. Like everyone gravitated to Lucius. So competitively speaking, you had access to transhuman physiology mechanic. You had access to ignoring AP 1 and 2 and the ability to like increase saves, and like all of these stacking buffs made the Skitarii blob nigh unkillable. Like now you're seeing more variety with Skitarii blobs being from different, you know, you've either got like the Metallica ones or the Mars ones or the Ryza ones. You know, they're all a little different. But you don't see 120 of them. Like there's a few lists out there that are still doing well competitively in Europe, for example, but they're designed mainly for like a differential scoring WTC style, where the aim is to put as many bodies on the table to stop you from really scoring many points, right? So they don't care if they lose as long as they lose by a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And in that way, like the team environment, it's still good, but in like singles, and especially with the advent of like the new terrain style packs or player place terrain, like all of these aspects have really changed like how people take a lot of these units or put them in their lists. You know, being able to hide multiple small units of Skitarii Rust Stalkers and Infiltrators and smaller units of Vanguards and whatnot to just overwhelm the scoring of the table. You know, just look at like Siegler's list that went to the Lone Star Open. Yeah. It was all that MSU. He still had, I believe, one big blob, but it wasn't like, it's not as prevalent as it was.
Yeah, and also with things like the Contemptor Dread Knights with Volkites that just shred through anything that's T3, where it doesn't even matter if you bring a big blob. Pretty good. So I think that we can go back to Marines a little bit now that we, nice segue from Contemptor Dreadnoughts. Let's talk about that Leviathan Dreadnought. You guys remember the Brohammer lists of the unkillable dreadnoughts and the Leviathan dreadnought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last in-person LVO.
Yeah. That thing was nasty.
Yeah.
Scar, do you want to talk about the Leviathan dreadnoughts and why they've fallen out of flavor more?
Well, the Leviathan Dreadnought was incredibly strong. It had like hits on 2s and toughness 8 and a 4-up invulnerable save, and like it was just nigh unkillable. And then combine it with the Iron Hands mechanics of like healing it up and making it like a character and like bouncing wounds off it to other stuff and ignoring damage, and it was just silly. It was really the compendium that really said, you know what, it's no longer the de facto choice.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's still good, and it still has some cool mechanics that you can take, or weapon options, you know? Plus, it looks really awesome. But now it just sort of competed for the same slot as, like, Contemptors and, like, Redemptor Dreadnoughts. And now it's, like, along the same lines, just a little bit different. So, you know, you don't see them as often. I still see them, but it's not like, oh, you're playing a Space Marine list. How many Leviathans did you bring? 1 or 2? You know what I mean? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, it got switched over to Contemptors.
Yeah.
Oh, you're bringing Marines list. How many Contemptors do you have?
Yeah.
Okay. Another option for Marines that was like super huge was Duty, the Judiciar.
Yep.
Right. Because that came out with Indominus, correct? With the Indominus box.
Yep.
And during that time, Judy was an absolute menace. Fight Last became so strong. What happened with Judy? How come he's not taken as much anymore?
They facked him, didn't they? Like,
I have no idea. I honestly have no idea why Judy.
Neither do I. I
Yeah.
just remember everybody was running him, and then the next week everybody was like, nah, never mind.
Yeah.
I believe his I think his aura might have gone down a little bit, or something like that. But what happened was other books started getting mechanics to fight last, or supplements got mechanics that gave Marines an ability to get a fight last mechanic without having to spend points on a character to do it.
Oh, yeah.
That was like, they had to be really close to the enemy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, like Space Wolves got the psychic power, right, and then you got and then everybody
Angels
just
got
like
one
saying,
too.
you know what, why go into combat when I can just shoot you with a bunch of Contemptor Dreadnoughts? And they're like, I don't need to make you fight last if you just don't exist anymore.
Can't punch me if I punch you first.
At range,
Yeah.
with a bunch of Volkites.
Okay. So that answers that question for Judy, because I literally had no idea what it was. I still see it like every once in a while. I think that Blood Angel still brings Judy every once in a while, but
I mean, I see it every once in a while too when I walk past the shelf and it's just
oh,
sitting up. Do we lose him again?
From the shelf.
another one for Space Marines. I think that we could just knock out all the Space Marine ones right now. We have Eliminators, and then after Eliminators, we can talk more about attack bikes. But yeah, at least for vanilla Marines, we could talk about Eliminators first on why those went out of flavor and why they were in flavor before.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for Eliminators, like, people had an interest in them because they got so much cheaper. Taking Unit 3 is only 75 points, so you could use that to screen. You could use that to use Phobos, I think it's called Guerrilla Tactics, to put them in reserve and bring them back out to get like that last scrambler or something. But nowadays, like, they're snipers, but a lot of people bring things like bodyguards.
Oh yeah.
Where, you know, it doesn't matter if you're a sniper, you can't target them. So at that point, at that point, they're just a backfield unit that.
Well, considering Death Route Terminators, or was it Death Guard was like the first codex of 9th edition, right? And that was like the inclusion of Death Routes being like, you can't even shoot my characters anymore.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
the first edition.
You know, and Eliminators, their ammunition changed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like they used to have the ability to get like +2 to hit, add line of sight shooting, like all this stuff. And then it became direct line of sight shooting, and like there's a cap on hit modifiers, and you might not even be able to shoot characters anymore.
Yeah.
You know, like, so a combination of that, they were like, well, I'm just going to take like plasma inceptors and instead, you know, I'm just going to drop down and like murder you with plasma blast weapons.
Yeah. But what about attack bikes?
I still see them,
Yeah.
and I think people still like them because they can be resurrected. But other than attack bikes, it was more the buggies. You saw the other ones, the like ATVs. Those things were everywhere. while the Apothecary could resurrect them.
Yep.
And then as soon as the Apothecary changed, they're like nowhere now.
Yeah. I think their biggest flaw is like it's not core. So
Yeah.
not core. Might as well just run an attack bike, especially if you can't revive them. Yeah.
But I think it just it fell out of flavor, especially with like Dark Angels. Like it probably just fell out of flavor just because Deathwing's so much better because you get perma transhuman on all Terminators
And the rockets and the long term, and
Yeah.
they score better and all this stuff. Oh yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about the big bad that a lot of people were afraid of when he first came out, Mortarion. When Mortarion first dropped, I can't tell you how many videos there were of what kills Mortarion. Can this kill Mortarion? Mortarion is unkillable. All the Reddit posts of saying like Mortarion breaks the game, all that stuff. Now, Mortarion, being the flavorful bad man that he was before, no longer like flavorful. A lot of people, it's not uncommon to see Death Guard lists not running Mortarion.
Yeah, I mean, he's like 475 points, right? So like you're losing a lot of possibilities, especially when it comes to your Terminators. So that's like a squad or two squads of Death Shroud Terminators or even Blightlord Terminators, right? They're just as durable, hit just as hard. So you're only losing access to like a couple of psychic powers and some psychic denial. Mortarion does move quick. He moves 12 inches, which is like the fastest thing in the whole army.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, most people are running like 2 to 3 PBCs, Death Shroud Terminators, Poxwalkers,
Tallyman.
yeah, Tallyman, maybe even a Contemptor Dreadnought with Volkite. Funny. And he's just, I think it's just his cost mainly, right? Because he doesn't have any shoot. He has like one shot with his pistol, so it's not like he's not scary at range per se. He's just scary when he gets in your face. And I mean, he can be shot from almost anywhere on the board.
Yeah.
On turn 1. So most of the time he might not even make it to turn 2. So
Without getting bracketed at least.
right.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, is he worth the 400 and some odd points that I would spend? Or should I just go with more Death Shroud Terminators and enough Foul Blights on with Stench Vats and Poxwalkers and all that
Plague
other
drones.
stuff? Yeah, Plague drones.
Yeah.
Other options that move fast and can get me like engage and stuff like that. So
Scary, do you have anything to say about Morty?
I agree with that. You know, although you said he's fast, and I almost laughed.
Yeah.
Because he's not fast at all.
for Death Guard, that's
You said
fast.
in relation to everything else in the Death Guard book. It's like, okay, I'll give you that.
In a vacuum.
Yeah.
I think the nail in the coffin for Mortarion was losing access to warp time.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
like if there was one way to run in was to sort of like Superman and then make sure that he could get up with like a double move and then have that whole like aura to slow people down and like all this stuff, right? And you can be like, and now you're not going anywhere, or like, at least you have to deal with him right away.
Yeah.
Because he is so slow and he'll kill stuff, but he'll kill one thing a turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he has a 3-inch heroic intervention, and he's like whoop-de-doo. So you can even ignore him, and then you're playing with a quarter of your points down.
Yeah,
Right.
it was pretty funny to just watch Drukhari kite me around the table with Mortarion.
Oh, because you can't do anything.
Yep.
Yeah. Nothing you can do. And then
Yep.
you can just keep plinking shots at him until he brackets, and then it just gets worse and worse from there. There's
It's like watching a
And
dog
it's like,
chase a
at
car.
the beginning when he came out, everybody was doing the math on how to kill Mortarion. Now, like most armies that are in the meta have like a way to just go, I'm gonna kill Mortarion in one turn.
Yeah.
It might take my whole army, but he's gonna die. You
Yeah,
know, like
yeah.
it's not undoable.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the warp time thing. I completely forgot that was even a thing of because you would just warp time him, move him 24, and then just turn off rerolls on everything. So that was pretty nasty. But because of warp time, he doesn't have access. It just makes him not very good.
Yep.
Yeah. Speaking of chaos, Demonette blobs. That was pretty prevalent. And then now, obviously, it's the same thing as everybody else, where Twin Volkites just absolutely smash them. They can't really deal with that. There's too much, even like now with Grey Knights with their Storm Bolters everywhere, you know, you can't really run Demonette spam anymore. They were pretty strong in the sense of, you know, you have your Advance and Charge, you had your, what's it called, Celesky, Vengeful Allegiance, whatever her name was, also doing a bunch of stuff. And Scary was talking about this earlier, but also Keeper spam isn't as prevalent as it was before. It's kind of making a resurgence because of Be'lakor, but not as much as it was before, where demons were a very, very huge threat because they were so Alpha Strike heavy, and then it was just like, I'm going to get in your face and score points.
Is, you know, Demonettes or Keeper spam was essentially, I go first, and you have 4 Keepers in your deployment zone, murdering your army.
Yeah.
And then I've got like Demonettes like taking objectives. Now a lot of armies have forward deployment units, so you can kind of like screen like 9 inches away from a demon board edge and be like, no, you stay, and then at least it gives you some opportunity to take them down before they get to you.
Yeah. I saw. I still really like Keeper spam because it's just so much fun. They're great models.
It's high aggro and they look great. Like the aggro is fantastic. It's a very fun army to play, but it is something that I haven't seen in the meta, like in tournaments or anything like that, in a while.
Yeah, it's very finessey, very finesse army. Let's see. Do we have any other? Seeing if we have anything else chaos. I don't think we do. I think that was the last of the chaos. Well, I guess we could talk about Magnus.
Yeah, I was going to say player Magnus, being like, hey, you forgot this unit or that unit. So why don't you let us know? Send a nicely worded email to the team to let us know how little we know about the game.
Yeah. I think that Magnus might be one. That was just. I'm still sad about Magnus. Just. Man, guy got like a lateral move.
I think we at least talk about Magnus once a week now.
Dude, he's like my favorite model in the game, dude. He's so cool. Outside of that, we got Skyweavers for Harlequins. Skyweavers were pretty prevalent, especially in the beginning of 9th edition, especially since you used to be able to prismatic blur 2 of them at once. Through like Twilight Pathways, or I forgot what the psychic power is, to double move them and then advance them, then cast Prismatic Blur again. So then you can have 2 units of Skyweavers with a 3-up invuln, but nowadays you don't really see that many Skyweavers. You still see Starweavers, the transports, just because the fusion pistols are still pretty decent, lots of movement, still a good transport unit, but Skyweavers fallen out of flavor, and then they made it so then people didn't take vehicles anymore.
Yeah.
So then they kind of became counterproductive for themselves.
Yep.
It's like, we kill vehicles really well. Well, I'm just not going to bring vehicles. Well, I guess that's it. I guess I'll just not do that then.
I guess I'm useless.
Yeah. I mean, they're still fine outside of not hitting vehicles. Like, their melee's okay. It's just that the 3-up invuln really hurt for Skyweavers, where you're not going to see like 3 units of them. Like
they're also very CP intensive. And what happened is Harlequins, especially in early 9th edition, were so strong that everybody really adapted to like learn how to play against Harlequins. So people had to get wise, and then people just found good counters to deal with the Harlequins, and it was a lot harder to win with Harlequins.
Yeah.
And then as soon as like, you know, and they're always CP hungry. Like, they have all this stuff, but they were CP hungry.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So if you weren't careful, if you didn't win in those first 2 turns, like, it was very hard to, like, stay on the table because they are a gloss cannon.
Yeah, it was one of those armies where you go hard turns 1 and 2 and then just ride that high until the end of the game off of the lead that you gotten, and that's basically how Quins worked back then. Now with things like mortal wounds becoming more and more prevalent, they just absolutely shred through Harlequins as well, so it hurts Skyweavers even more in that sense, because they don't really have any way to deal with the mortal wound spam that we're seeing nowadays off of just like Volkites. After that, we've got Thunderwolf Cav, John P. You want to talk about Thunderwolf Cavalry?
No.
No.
Yeah. But yeah, Thunderwolf Cav, obviously, when the Space Wolves Codex first came out, Advance and Charge, woo, let's go. But then being cavalry in infantry meta is not very good, especially when you can't go through terrain, can't perform actions, anything like that. So, yeah. It's also D3+3 became a big thing. Dark Lances, Last Chickens,
Demas.
Minimum 4 damage. Loves hitting Thunderwolf.
It's perfect for it. Yeah,
I mean, it's a dead Destral Terminator. It's a lot of dead
also,
things.
the lack of apothecaries. You know what I mean? Like, if they had the ability to like bring a Thunderwolf guy back, you know, then maybe
man,
that'd be pretty good.
Insane. That would be crazy if they could bring back a Thunderwolf Cav.
Instead of an apothecary, they should call it like a veteran or a veterinarian or something.
Yeah.
A veterinarian to bring back a dog.
How many points is Thunderwolf Cav? Like, what's the min squad?
Min is
Like
3.
6.
So you could go through to 5 if you want the shield and like a weapon, like a chainsword. I think it's about 50. With lightning claw is 55. Hammer
It's
is
like an attack
60.
spike. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, you know what I mean? Like, just because lore wise they have, you know, priests instead of apothecaries.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, give the priest some ability to bring a Thunderwolf cavalry back. Anyway, needless to say, they used to be everywhere. Like 15 of them I used to see very, very commonly.
And then
Together with Eradicators.
Yeah.
Funnily enough.
Well, so 50 per model. That's 150 for 3 at minimum, right?
Yeah.
That's Wolfguard.
Yeah, it's just a squad of Wolfguard now.
It's just, what's the point? All right. Next one, Demeki, you can talk about this one, Riptides.
Yeah. Riptides, nobody's bringing them anymore. Everybody's bringing a giant blob of XV8 bodyguard battle suits or just XV8 battle suits in general, just because you can make them Farsight enclaves, give them that +1 to hit, it changes their weapon, their BS to 3. It's not technically a +1 to hit, and also changes their weapon skill to a 4. So they hit on 4s for melee. Yeah, Tau melee. But so it changes their BS to 3 instead of hitting on 4s, and then with your marker lights, you're hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s. So it's pretty nice, but they're expensive, right? So I've seen maybe one list run a blob of XV8s and like one Riptide, but then you got to cut out something else, right? Like Fire Warriors or whatever else. So then you lose OBSEC. It's just they're just not as efficient as they were in 8th. Mm-hmm. And I think it's also too because of the point hikes with shield drones.
Oh yeah,
and
shield drones especially.
Yeah, shield drones getting a point hike, and then also marker lights too, essentially getting a point hike. It's a really tough time for Tau.
Also,
right
the
now.
fact that the game's 5 turns.
Yeah,
because before Tau still have the ability to wipe you out in 4.5 to 5 turns.
Yep.
They needed that 6th turn to win the game with scoring.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Now it's just different. Now they just don't have that 6. And I see the one Riptide though. Like the one Ion Super Relic Ion.
Yeah.
That one I see.
That one's to essentially hopefully delete a tank or a transport, right? Pop the transport, and then hopefully the XV8s will take care of the rest. I mean, the other thing too that fell off that was a thing from it was the Tiger Sharks. And the reason why that was a thing was before we got the new book for the Imperium Compendium for Forge World, before we got that book, they used to hit on 3s. So everybody was running 2 to 3 of those in a list. And once the new book came out, people just stopped because they went to a 4, a ballistic skill 4.
That sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't seem that bad until you actually play and then someone hits you with a -1. You're like, oh, well, now I'm in on 5.
Yep.
Okay. Necrons. Now, I'm going to be honest. Don't really know that much about Necrons that much. So I'm going to rely on you guys about Doomsday Arcs and why no one brings them as much as they used to before.
I think it's mainly the Doomsday Arc, the D6 weapon profile. You know what I mean? There's just so much other stuff that having those big Doomsday Arcs, they used to be the only way to kill stuff at range. And used to see 3 of them in every single Necron list that I remember seeing before the new codex. The new codex came out, and they've kind of been and I think things like Dark Lances and other things like that really make Doomsday Arcs not really like the light of day too much. Tell me I'm wrong, but a lot of more competitive Necron list are based around like Canoptex and Wraiths and like the fast moving bikes and like Satan that go in, and or even like now we're seeing like Lich Guard and more of a combat heavy stuff with that can just hide and take objectives rather than having to be out in the open and shoot and then be at the almighty D6 shots, right? Which we know how spiky that can be.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Are Doomsday Arcs, are those are the big boats, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're the big boats with the guns on them. Like you see, I have seen lots of Ghost Arcs, which is the troop transport version.
Yeah.
But the Doomsday Arcs with the D6, basically like glass cannon, essentially. I haven't. Yeah, those used to be quite popular, but I haven't really seen them like in Necron lists.
Yeah. If it's that big old boat thing that like I remember seeing those a lot for 8th edition Necrons. But yeah, I can see it where 9th edition I haven't seen it like once since then. After that we've got conscripts. Scar, you want to talk about conscripts?
Conscripts, you mean the guardsmen that are cheaper than anything else?
Yeah.
Well, in general,
wait,
it's just
conscripts
guard
are the
stuff
cheap.
in general. You know, like Astrametarm, you could say conscripts, you could say Bulgrin, because Bulgrin with their like changes to some of the psychic powers and that sort of thing, they've kind of gone down in because now a lot of people, instead of taking Bulgrin, take Custodes to sort of fill in the Astrametarm sort of void. And then you've got things like the Krieg horses with their huge point increase. You know, for a while there, when they were really, really cheap, the Death Riders, the Krieg Death Riders with the Compendium were really popular. You know, 3 wounds, feel no pain, super, super cheap. And then they went up in points. And now you don't really see them nearly as much.
No, literally nothing about conscripts.
Same.
I just okay.
Well, the big blobs of conscripts were a big thing.
Yeah.
And then with like Inquisitors and making them fearless and giving them like invulnerable saves and all this stuff, and then they just kind of like disappeared. Like I saw a couple of lists with them, and then they were gone.
Okay. John P.
Yeah.
You want to wrap this up with the Cataphrons and Call?
For AdMech, we should just say anything that's not Skatar. So we're talking Cataphrons, we're talking Call, we're talking Electro Priests. All those, ever since New Codex, you don't really see them anymore. I think the biggest thing with Cataphrons was with Call, they got full rerolls, and then they also had their custom Forge World with Exploding Sixes. You can run those in big blobs, just stand on objective. A lot of people also like the Electro Priests, stick them in a transport, get them out, have them kill something, get that 3-up invuln. Pretty neat. They don't have that anymore, so yeah. And then Call just also doesn't really synergize super well with all the Skitarii heavy builds, especially when you have a 45-point Skitarii Marshal that you can take instead. So.
Oh yeah, you guys have a Marshal. Dude, that thing is so cheap.
Yeah.
It's such a good buff unit for 45 points.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lieutenant and a captain
Yeah.
for a third of the points.
Yep.
That is
Congratulations.
ridiculous. Why take Call ever?
For our list of things that we don't see very fun, a shout out, an honorable mention to any and all Gene Stealer cult units.
Oh yeah.
Shout out to Aberrant since like the middle of 8th edition.
When have you seen one on the table? Let us know down below. It'll be like a nugget, a golden nugget.
Yeah, are you guys still alive right now? What's going on? What are you guys doing?
Last one I saw was on a milk
They're
cart.
plotting our demise from the sewers.
Yeah. Just wait. Well, their codex is going to come out like soon, and then they're just going to mess everybody up. It's just going to absolutely destroy everything.
Everybody's gonna stop talking about Drukhari, and they're gonna start talking about
Gene Stealer cults and Black Templars.
And Black Templars, and I'll be there under my rock, looking out, cackling with glee.
Yeah.
It's me again. I told you.
All right, guys. That about wraps it up for this episode of Chapter Tactics. Thank you guys for joining us on this episode. If you guys have any other units that you feel like have fallen out of flavor and why you think that they've fallen out of flavor, leave it in a comment below and let us know, because it's always fun having a conversation about what's going on with 40K. And without further ado, Scary, if you would like to plug yourself with all of your social media goodness.
Why, thank you. It is electric to plug myself. Haha, get it? Because I am a Volt. You can always find me on YouTube at Scodcast on YouTube, where I do bar reports and a whole bunch of other stuff, or on Patreon, where I do a whole bunch of other content. Yeah, so check me out.
Yeah, boy, yeah, boy. And that is it for this episode. We'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.